Hello, this is going to be a video on Excel 2. If you click over here in this week's work, you have a little PowerPoint that discusses a little introduction to a lot of the terms we're going to be using today. Last week we went over some very basic Excel functions, and we're going to continue going a little bit more. Instead of just maximum and minimum and average and sum, we have an ability to do something called random. We can find random numbers between a certain set. We can do some special copy and pasting of these random numbers. We're going to show you a little trick to do that. Instead of just maximum and minimum, we can do the largest. We can set a parameter, like let's find the third largest in a group of numbers, or the third smallest. Or we can see if you have a group of numbers, how many people in the group had the number 3 or are in group 3. We can count how many people participated, how many number values there are for a group of particular cells, or etc., etc. All right, let's get started. Let's talk about absolute cell reference. We're going to be using the $ key, which is shift number 4. If your computer comes from another country, it's just whatever symbol is above the number 4. Here in the United States, we use the dollar. From Japan, it would be the yen. If you're from Sweden, it would be the kronen or kronar, something like that. Anyway, let's get started, shall we? So I'm going to go back to the week 2, right here, Excel Absolute Cell Reference. We'll click on that. We'll download the file. We're going to do the first tab we did in class, and the second tab. Let's see if we can get through that as well, shall we? I'm going to hit the download button. It's going to go into your download folder, wherever that is. I'm just going to double click it, see if I can open it directly. I can. I'm going to enable editing. So right now your Excel file is still in your download folder. It probably says Excel number 2. So what's the first thing we do when we open up any file? We're going to save it where we can find it, change the name. My settings are a little different because I'm using a computer at home. What you would want to do is you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Save As, or save a copy, depending on whether you're saving it locally or in the cloud. And then you're going to change the name to your last name, first initial, Excel 2, right? So we'll try that. We'll put our last name here, and we'll save it. Now if you look at the top, you have our last name, Excel number 2. You can delete the rest. That's fine. All right, let's take a look. Absolute cell reference. So we have a cell here. We're going to just multiply this number by this number like we did before, right? If we hit equal sign, click on this cell, which happens to be C10, hit the multiplication symbol, and then this one, our interest rate, we'll get a number, right? Now, if we were to drag this down like this, you'll see I have a variety of different, look at this interest, wow. Yeah, I want to bank here. Okay, so what's happening is we have C10, which is this number, multiplied by C7, which is that number. And when we drag this little chip down, it goes down to the next value, which is going to be C11, which is right here, multiplied by C8. And you see this cell is also moving. They keep going down, they follow each other, and we have no value there. The next cell is C9. There's just words in here. So if we were to look at that, C9, it just says it can't calculate. We want the equation to stop on this number. So how do we do that? This first letter is our column. The second letter is our row number. So since we don't want it to go down below that, we're going to fix it on that row number, and we do that by putting a $ in front of the row number. This is called absolute cell reference. Now if I click on this little chip here and drag it down, you see it nice and clean. Now if I double click and look over here, I have C11, which is this number, multiplied by C7, so it's locked right there. If I go to this cell, it goes C12 times C7, and this one is also C13 times C7. See how that works? So if we were to go over to our homework here and we look at the same thing, so in the past we did this in class. This was the easier one, and then this was the take-home homework. It's much longer, more elaborate. If you look over here, I do have the equations over here, so if you can't follow what I'm doing, you can always type this in. But I do want you to try to look at this and understand what's happening, because when we do have a test or quiz, it's going to look like this, probably in this format without all the equations, and you're just going to look over here and go, all right, I want to multiply this by this, equals, we have number of people times how much it costs. I don't want it to move out of the cell row, so I'm going to put a $sign by there. What they are recommending in the exercise is you put a $sign in front of both, so you don't have to guess, am I locking it in the column or row? You can just lock them both, but we don't need to. We just need to lock the column, the row. So, there you go. First table for your homework is done as well. What is the amount of total interest? So here we're just going to do a sum equals, type in SU. We'll go sum of these cells right here. We'll just click and drag from the center of the cell so you get that puffy cross. Hit enter. You don't even need to close the parentheses. It'll just close it for you. And that's the number, right? Let's keep going, shall we? So here we're going to multiply the amount we're depositing by our interest rate. And if we click and drag this over to the right, we'll go this number times this number, and then this blank space times this number, this blank space times that number. So that's a problem. We want to lock it right here. So I'm going to go equal sign. We'll click on the amount multiplied by our interest rate right here, D28. Now I want to lock it right here, so I'm going to lock the column, the letter. So I'm going to put a $sign in front of the letter. Right? I can drag that over. And that's how that works. Right? Equal sign. This number multiplied by this number again. Put a $sign in front of the column this time. And we'll drag that over. Last, we'll do it again. Equal sign, $476 million. And then multiply that by this interest rate. We'll drag that over. See, it pays to keep your money in for a longer time. All right, now we're going to go, we'll exit absolute cell reference, and we'll go over to this exercise here, random number betweens. Now I want you to pay special attention right here. This cell is actually merged into 3 cells. So over here we have 3 cells. Here we have somebody formatted this. They merged and centered these 3 cells, and this will cause a problem when we try to sort it. So just keep this in mind, and we'll address that when it happens. We're going to assign a random number to these names between 1 and 10. So we'll just type in equal sign random, rand between right here. Here it pops up for Excel. We'll double click that. We'll say 1, 10. Hit enter. And we'll drag that down. These are our random numbers. So you can see that I have Barbara here in the same group as Lee, and Barbara's really excited. So we want to preserve this group. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to hit copy. Now you'll notice after this, when I start pasting, this function will continue to run, and these numbers will continue to randomize, and Barbara won't be able to be in the same group with Lee anymore. So we don't want to bum Barbara out. So let's see if we can keep these numbers. Barbara has 6, Lee has 6. What I want to do here is I'm going to bring my cursor to the edge of this window. It's a little tricky here, so I get a move symbol. If you have an Apple computer, it'll look like a little Mickey Mouse hand. And we're going to right-click drag. Now, if you don't have a mouse on your touchpad, you got to take your 2 fingers and stick it simultaneously on the touchpad for right-click drag over, like this. And we're going to say copy here as values only. Copy here as values only. And now we see Barbara here's at 6 and Lee is still here at 6, but now you see all these numbers have changed. So now that I have these copied over here, I'm just going to do a Control or Command C to copy. We'll go back over here and we'll paste that. Now the function is out, is no longer in this column of numbers, so Barbara and Lee are going to be in the same group. Rest assured. I lost my formatting here. Let's put some borders back in here, just for the fun of it. Okay, now let's take a look at the questions. So they want to know how many students are in group number 4. Now we can use that sorting function. So if we were to click and drag from the center of the cell to get this white square, we can sort them, right? But we have this one problem here because this cell is merged. So let's see what happens when we try to sort this. If I click on the sort from smallest to largest, it says, do you want to expand the selection? Yes, go ahead, sort it. Now I have an error message saying this merged cell is causing a problem. So I can take this cell and we can unmerge it. Look for this symbol if you don't see the word merge and center, and select the option to unmerge. Now when we grab all of these numbers, we can hit the sort button, smallest to largest. We can expand the section, and you see it has sorted all the names based on the numbers they were placed in. And we can see now how many students are in group 4. I only have one student, Matthew. He's a loner, so he's in group 4. But all of your results will vary, so some of you may have 3 or 4 people, some of you may only have 1 person. Which group does Lori belong to? Let's look for Lori. I have her in group 3. He, she. Let's move on to exercise number 3. We have a simulated long list of students, student numbers, their midterm scores. Not everyone took the course or took the test, and we can see which section they're in. Let's do some sorting, some more sorting. What's the average score of the midterm? So remember to find average, we just hit equals, type in average. There it is, we'll double click. It wants us to select the cells here, so I will click and drag all of these. If you don't want to keep doing this clicking and dragging, you can just memorize the beginning cell and the last cell. So we can just do the beginning and last one. The beginning cell is C87, the last cell is C166. Or you can just type in C87 colon, not semicolon, C166. And that will give us the average of all of these test scores. 52.26 is what I got. We want to find the second largest score, so we'll type in equal, the word large. We can grab all of these cells again, or you can just type in C87 colon C166. And then instead of closing the parentheses, you'll put a comma number 2 because we want the second largest. Close parentheses, hit enter. Second largest is 99.1197, which you'll see is student 61, I think, 99.12. It rounds up. Sixth smallest score, equal sign, small, C87 colon C166, and we want the comma number 6. That will give us the 6th smallest score, which is 12.44. How about the 5th largest score? Equals large C87 colon C166 comma 5. Close parentheses. 5th largest score is 95. Uh-oh, we have a combo here. First, second, and third largest scores. So we want to add these together. So what's the first score? That'll be maximum, right? Equals max, open parentheses, C87 colon C166, close parentheses, and we're going to add 3 numbers together. The first, the second, and the third. So we'll do plus sign. We'll do large parentheses, C87 semicolon C166, close parentheses, addition sign. Last one will be the third largest, large, open parentheses, C87 colon C166, close parentheses. Oh, not close. I'm sorry, not close parentheses, comma 3. Then close parentheses because it's the third largest. Hit enter. You've entered too few arguments. What did I do wrong? I did something wrong. Max, C87, 6 plus, large. Oh, I forgot to put the large here. We wanted second largest, right? So comma, second. Those of you following at home, maybe you caught that. If you did, bravo. That's the numbers of all three added together. Which section has the largest number of students? We're going to use the function mode. Mode will calculate the most frequently occurring value from a list of supplied numbers. So equals mode C87 semicolon C166. Not available. What'd I do wrong? Mode. We want to find for this one which section has the largest number of students, right? So I did C87, C166. That is incorrect. This is the section here, column D. So let's fix that. Put a D letter there. Section 2 has the largest number of students. All right, how many blank cells are there in the scores column? We can go through and count, but it can get kind of tedious. So we can just do a count blank function. Equals count blank. C87 semicolon C166. There are 12 students that didn't take the midterm. And how many students did take the midterm? Let's count them. Equals count C87 colon C166. I should have just copied C87 colon C166 so I didn't have to keep typing it. There it is. 68 students took it. If I take 68 and I add that to 12, I should get 80 because that's 80 students. And that's the end of the in-class. So let's go look at the Excel 2 homework that you have to do at home. A lot of the same things. So we have a little miniature version, and this is what your test or quiz will look like. Just smaller versions of our homework. And second largest column. Challenge yourself. Don't look at the equations. So let's take a look here. How do we find the second largest scores? We start with B85 and B104. So second largest would be equals large semicolon. I think we can just grab these right here. See, B85 colon B104. Well, we want to find the second largest, so we have to put comma number 2 after. Whoops. Let's try this again. B85 to B104, comma number 2. That's the second largest. Fifth smallest, we'll go equals small. We can grab these. Comma number 5. Close semicolon equals. There it is. Which section is the most frequently chosen? So which one of these is most common? That's C column, so we'll do mode again, equals mode, open parentheses, we'll grab these in the C column. And we see section 3 is the most popular. All right, what do we got here? Random numbers, remember how to do this one? Equals randbetween 1, 3. Right? And do you remember if we copy this and paste it over here, these numbers will change? Right? The numbers keep changing. So if you want to stop that from happening, we're going to move to the side here, and we'll right-click, drag, and copy values only. That didn't work. Let's try it again. Do this. We'll do a copy, right-click, drag, copy here, values only. I got some justification issues, but these are our original numbers. If I copy this again and paste it back over here, we have our numbers. We can center these if we want. All right. That's how we did that. All right, let's do this interest here. These are our interest rates for various times. These are our numbers. Remember how to do this? Equals absolute cell reference, right? So which one are we locking down? Our interest rates or our deposit money? We're going to lock these down because we're going to drag it to the right. So I'm going to say equals deposit money, A57. I'm going to lock the column times this interest rate. So which one of these am I going to lock? The row or column? Since I'm dragging to the right, let's lock the column. So I'll put the $ in front of the column of my deposit, which is A57. We'll drag that to the right. We'll do that again. Equals deposit A58 multiplied by our interest rate. We'll lock the column again, $A. Come quiz time, if you can't remember, if you panic, you can just lock both column and value, column and row. It shouldn't matter. We'll go equal sign deposit A59 multiplied by our interest rate. We'll lock the column here. Drag that to the right. Boom, boom, boom. Math. Okay. What do we got here? I'm doing this all backwards. I hope you don't mind. Interest rate here is the same thing. We're just going to go equals this one, our interest rate, which is A44 multiplied by this number. We want to lock this, the column again, so we'll put the $ in front of the A. We'll drag that to the right. This one. So we want to calculate sales percent of monthly totals. These are our monthly totals. This is how much New York made in June. So we'll go this number, small number, divided by the monthly total, so to get our percentage. So equals New York in June divided by our monthly total to get percentage, right? If I hit enter, there's our percent. I think I had already gone through and grabbed all of these cells and made the units percentage. So if you see a decimal place, 0.0331, you can just when you get all those values, you can convert it to percentage. So what happens if we drag this down? Will that work? No. Let's take a look why. Here's our equation. This number divided by this number. We want to lock this number, right? Are we locking the column or the row? We're going to lock the row here in this case because we don't want it to go up and down, right? So let's try this again. And we get 100%, so we know we did it right. Let's do the next one. Equals, we have this smaller number divided by the grand total. We're going to lock the row because we don't want it moving up and down. And again, if you can't remember which one, just you can lock both column and row. Let's do for August. Equals our August number divided by our grand total. I mean, not our grand total, our August monthly total. We're going to lock the row and we'll drag that down. Boom. Okay, for this last one, it's kind of tricky. We want to find percentages of the 3 months of sales. See what percentage of the grand total it is. So this equation will be equal sign. We want to find the sum of these three numbers, right? So we'll go sum, double click there, and then we can drag these three numbers, close up parentheses, divided by our grand total, and we want it to stay here on this row, so we can lock the row, hit enter, we'll take that value, we'll drag this chip down. And that is it. Save your work, upload it, and you are done. I want you to challenge yourself though. If you don't think you remember, download a fresh blank one, or you can take these values and right click and say clear contents, and then try it again yourself. That's it. Eat at Lucci's Pizza. See you later. Bye-bye.